Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Blue Cease. I'm the director of the Rochester Contemporary Art Center, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to tonight's talk with the artists featured in the exhibition Built Environments. The discussion will be led by the exhibition's curator, Miranda Metcalf. Those of you who are not familiar with our region or from our region, ROCO is located in Rochester, New York, which of course is Haudenosaunee territory, more specifically the Seneca Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. In addition to acknowledging the land and the history, I really want to be sure that we are always amplifying the many ways in which Native arts are alive and thriving in our area today. First and foremost, I really want to encourage everyone to visit and learn about our peer organization, Ganondagan, the Seneca Art and Cultural Center, and find ways to educate yourselves and support contemporary Native artists in this area. Also watch for the forthcoming exhibition of R.G. Miller, a survivor of the Canadian residential school system. Those of you who are new to our organization overall, ROCO was founded in 1977, and we have a long history of supporting artists who are addressing important political and social issues through their work. We elevate underrepresented artists from our community, and we also bring new artists and ideas to Rochester. Right now, our suite of exhibitions, I think, is thoroughly representative of that mission, including Built Environments, David Cole's Rock Stars. Additionally, David will give an artist talk here in-house on April 19th. We have a two-person exhibition in the main gallery featuring works by Cynthia Hawkins and Ronald Gonzalez, both, I would say, late career, really underappreciated artists from our region. And additionally, our public art installation features photography by Rafael Rodriguez, Shamar Brown, and Rudy Faber. We are in a very busy season here at the Rochester Contemporary Art Center, as we've been receiving your 6x6 artworks from all around the globe. I want to thank everyone who contributed and remind you that artworks will be open for preview beginning May 28th, and then art sales for 6x6 will kick off on June 1st online. As all of you know, many of you are familiar with a small contemporary art center like ours, and none of our programming would be possible without a super dedicated, small but mighty team. Alyssa and Jess are administering the Zoom call today, and I'm so grateful for all of their work organizing and promoting our exhibitions and programs. Additionally, I really want to acknowledge and thank Jeffrey, Reggie, Kate, Christina, Chris, Emily Gammon, and Emily Cook, and all members of our extended volunteer and staff team here at ROCO. I invite all of you to learn a bit more about our exhibitions and our history at our website, rochestercontemporary.org. All of our programs are supported by the New York State Council on the Arts, Monroe County, the Farish Foundation, Ann Havens, Richard and Vicki Schwartz, and about 1,000 other members around the region and to some degree across the country. Those of you who are not members, I hope you'll consider joining our organization and supporting all that we do. For today's call, closed captioning is enabled, and if you're having any trouble turning that on, please just chime in the chat and our team can help you. Additionally, please use the chat for any questions that you may have during the conversation or during the screening. I will rejoin Miranda toward the end of this program and help to serve up a few questions from the audience, should there be any. By way of introduction, this exhibition, Built Environments, is the fourth collaboration between ROCO and the Institute for Electronic Art, where all the artists featured in this show are previous residents. The Institute for Electronic Arts is a high technology research studio facility within the School of Art and Design at Alfred University in New York State. The IEA encourages and supports projects that involve interactive multimedia systems experimental sonic and video production, digital imaging, and other publications. The Institute for Electronic Art is committed to developing cultural interactions spurred by technological experimentation and artistic investigation. IEA's director and the curator of this exhibition is Miranda Metcalf. And Miranda has a master's degree in art history with a focus in printmaking from the University of Arizona. And for the past decade, she has worked in the arts in Australia, Thailand, and the United States in both commercial and nonprofit organizations. And I was just thrilled when I learned of Miranda moving to the area and settling in at Alfred. Miranda, thank you so much for your work on this exhibition and all that you're bringing to the Institute for Electronic Art. Welcome. Please take the mic.
Okay, thank you so much, Blue, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. I am Miranda Metcalf, and I just want to start out also by thanking Blue and the whole team at ROCO for this opportunity. It's really wonderful that I have the chance to continue to share work from artists who have been residents at the IEA, as Blue spoke to, in a different medium, but also here in Western New York. So this is a really special opportunity, the first collaboration under my directorship, and I hope we'll have many more. So to speak to video art a little bit in general, just sort of as an introduction to the exhibition at large, it's an incredibly powerful medium. We live in a world that is deeply saturated by the moving image. It's how we entertain ourselves, it's how we get our news, and it's how we learn new techniques in the kitchen. We have been trained to consume this information in video form, however, usually in seconds. We want it to be distilled into just one quick shot of knowledge. And I think anyone who's looked up how to, say, roast broccoli on TikTok will know exactly what I mean by this. The artists I've invited to exhibit, they're using video in a way that builds worlds while subverting traditional narrative arcs. This subversion invites the viewer to be intuitive and emotional in video spaces. And these kinds of videos that we'll see samples of today and that can be seen in the exhibition in full at ROCO in person, they light up our minds with an imperative to seek out messages in the moving image in the landscape. It's something we need to slow down and open up our senses, I think, to fully get. However, because of time constraints, we're actually going to be just showing a minute of each video from each artist here tonight. I think it'll give you a really nice taste of these artists' in-depth and really incredible practices, and I'm hoping to flush that out a bit by questions after the viewing. But again, just highly, highly encourage everyone to go see the exhibition in person so you can see full-length work as well, if you have the ability to do so. So the first artists whose work we're going to see here this evening is the duo Leka. They're a collaborative research-based group consisting of the Bangkok-born, Brooklyn-based artists Kengchakaj and Nitcha Tothong. I'm going to let the video play, and then we're going to circle back with them, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Okay. Gang and Nitcha, thank you so much for joining us. I would love to give you the chance to start by, first of all, having an opportunity to pronounce the name of your collective correctly. I gave it my very best, but I know that it has really significant meaning for you all, of course, choosing it for your collective. And so if you could just say it for us and maybe say why you chose it and how it fits in with your practice.
Totally. First of all, hi everyone. My name is Nitcha Tothong, but I prefer to be called Fame, so you can just call me Fame. I use they, she pronounce.
My name is Kengchakaj, and you can call me Geng. I use him pronounce.
And our collective called Ilekeka. And Ilekeka is the Thai word, which is mean chaos all over the place and non-direction. And we kind of like use it that as a strategy to kind of like push the boundary and be expansive of like the way that we behave in like our current system. Also, we both immigrant, so a lot of time we speak or like misspoke English word all the time. So we kind of like use the Thai word in a way to resist our identity in a way.
And also kind of give the experience back to some of the non-Thai folks that kind of like this is how we struggle, and like this might be one way that we understand each other and like how struggle better as well.
Can you speak to the text that we're seeing moving in and out in this video? Where does it come from and what does it mean in the context of this piece?
Yeah, so first of all, this piece called Jit is a video part of the our series, like Jit series. So just step back a little bit. We usually present our work in a performance setting. So usually live and use like multi-channels, sound, also like visuals, as well as live coding methods. So basically we so live coding is basically the technique that refer to writing a program in real time. Is like a improvisation of like writing short codes or like interactive programming to create sound and image. And this video is basically the recorded of like the live performance. You wanted to add anything?
About the text, yes. So the text is
yeah.
So as our name of the project is Jit, and we took the name from Thai radical thinker and writer, historian. His name is Jit Pumisak. And Jit Pumisak, so the word is coming from his essay called Cemetery of Thai Music, where he critiqued like how Thai music is not evolving because it was kind of like people in power and people in status quo trying to frozen it and use it as a tool to exclude people and to ban people that might not in the in that power, and trying to like use that as like a tool to oppress people. But also, and because of that, and a lot of his writing also might seen as a threat to the government, and he was killed in the 50s. Just he didn't do anything. He just write a bunch of books, and a lot of his book and writing was banned in Thailand for a really long time. And a lot of the word is from that. And I want to add also, there's one sentence that he write that kind of like our North Star for the past few years is that he said we should or we could interpersing all the voices and as many voices or sound as much as possible, even though he referred to Thai music that were frozen but also like he in our interpretation is also like, I mean, we should be able to include more sound, include more voices, not only the sound of the music or the traditional music. That in a sense, what we see in Thai music, there's like intonation diversity and all of that, but also like other voices inclusive for people who might not be able to resound as well. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's a perfect segue into asking you about the tones that we are hearing in Jit, because you said that this author was writing specifically about Thai music, and is that related?
Yes. So a lot of this sound that you are hearing in this particular piece as well, and also all about performances pieces, it's a non-Western tuning sound system. We don't even want to call it tuning system anymore, because tuning system, it just meant that it some kind of a system. We kind of want to propose to be able to use the word as like sound cultures, where we learn all this sound culture by ear, and trying to keep that tradition of passing the oral history, passing the oral sound throughout to more like embody experience by learning the sound, actually learning the sound. But also um all of this sound is not easy to make in the digital sense, because like, but also in a lot of way, almost the only available way for us to make it just to have our own music technology to be able to like create this type of sound, which in a sense all of this sound is have a lot of diversity. Each time you learn the sound, even from the same instrument, sometimes it's different. So what we're trying to do is trying to learn as much as possible, and kind of like combine all the sound from different cultures, not to damage the sound, but more like trying to see like speculative, that if Thai music were actually evolving, if Southeast Asian music were actually evolving and sound kind of like passing around the region, how would that gonna sound like, and what would that sound
Yeah.
turn into this digital space as well?
Yeah, also wanted to add that the sound that you're hearing now is generated by algorithm. So we use like so we basically like translate the sound and then hack the two and then create the sound using like algorithm at the end. So it's like kind of like combine the old knowledge with the new tools.
Yeah, really interesting. Did you two grow up listening to Thai sound culture or K-pop or anything in between?
Do you want to start first?
Yeah, I mean, I growing up using more like a pop music, but I don't have like music background, so maybe you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up playing piano, so I actually grew up learning, and kind of like my ears tuned to Western ear in a sense. And even though I was growing up in Thailand, I always hear this Thai sound. I always like grow up with it, but I didn't realize that it's different, because like there's nobody saying that to me, and also like it was just like kind of like default of me growing up is this 12 tone system is the only default, and this is the only way you make music in that sense that I was growing up. Maybe not for everybody, but that's what's my experience. And the first time that I actually working with Thai traditional music or other sound culture from Southeast Asia, which kind of like um almost like exposed me in a sense that the first time I hear it, I was like, why Thai music is out of tune? And then right after that, I realized instantly, like, wait, actually, it might not be out of tune. It's just another kind of sound that out my ear is like totally biased to Western music, and it just like instantly like, oh, it's out of tune, but also like, and that's when I realized that I need to learn a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we have to move on for the next video, but we'll look forward to bringing you back in when we have all the artists for the last bit of discussion. So Fame and King, thank you very much. Our next artist is Tansy Xiao. Tansy is a New York artist, curator, and writer. Tansy creates theatrical installations with nonlinear narratives, often extending beyond the fourth wall. And so we're going to play a selection of Tansy's work now, and then we'll be back for a little chat.
Desire for freedom. Control your soul's desire for freedom. Your soul's desire for freedom. Your soul's desire for freedom. Your soul's desire for freedom.
Okay. Tansy, you've said that your work is about communication and often the inadequacies of language. And I'm curious to see if you could tell us a little bit more about what brought you to that topic and why it interests you.
I think overall language is a very powerful tool, particularly used by the ruling class a lot. By limiting our vocabulary, even in like 1984, if anyone remembers the narrative in there, they kind of control people's minds by limiting their vocabulary and like removing certain words that mean certain things so that people lose the ability to resist in the long term. So yeah, it's always fascinating to me how language can shape people's understanding of the world. And I'm also looking for ways to like hack existing linguistic systems. Should I talk a little about the project itself or?
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, how it manifests and what we've seen would be perfect.
Cool. So this is actually not a video. It's a 3D environment. It's a virtual reality project that's not exported into a headset. And so in this world, there are like 14 giraffes that are just roaming around on this very surreal land. And each of them is saying a fragment from L'Internationale. And I just handed this totally deconstructed script or a score, you might call it, to a professional opera singer and had him like sing each part. And when two giraffes encounter one another, they're going to adopt each other's tunes. So it's kind of mimicking the process of like human migration and how we move around and learning each other's culture and language and eventually like forging a new identity. Yeah, it's kind of the process of globalization in a way. And also, one of the giraffes is saying like actually spoken language, control your soul's desire for freedom. And that's kind of a totalitarian propaganda line during the Shanghai lockdown. And but I kind of cut the sentence into like words And when the giraffe encounters other giraffes, it's eventually going to lose the whole propaganda line, but adopting the singing instead. So there's that. And when the viewer actually plays this virtual reality, not really a game, I don't know what it is, they're going to be surrounded by surveillance cameras, like 3D surveillance cameras surrounding the player. And all the images all the live videos are displayed on that very Namjoon looking goddess status. So all those are like live images from the virtual surveillance cameras, and they're goldfish jumping around and saying, like, crying for water, but there's no water in this entire world. So at a certain point, the player is gonna run into a mirror, and they're gonna see themselves. So before that, you're the first person player. You don't know what you are until you see a mirror, and it's gonna show your image as a goldfish with a surveillance camera head. And that's a moment of revelation that the player is gonna realize that they're both the oppressor and the victim. And I didn't say that in the statement, probably. Nobody actually noticed that. Maybe I should add that, actually. Yeah, so what else?
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And I think that's, right at the beginning, you said something that was a really important distinction, is that, this is a clip from an interactive space that is generative in its own way, as opposed to like a fully maybe kind of curated video art piece, where someone has very particularly sort of set things out. And I guess my question for you would be, when you are developing something that you are letting go of a certain amount of control in, you're setting the parameters and then you're letting it go, and you have this interaction with the viewer, do you what's the kind of balance, I guess, between curating the experience and letting, the viewer develop their own experience within an interactive piece like this?
I think I'm not coming from a place of like a trained artist. I'm mostly self-taught, especially in the technology part of art. So I don't have that. I don't identify as the authority myself, and I don't believe in authorship. I feel like in the tech industry, authorship is like more put on the side, and people are more like just trying to help the newcomers, people who just learn to code and share everything, not everything, but at least like 90% of the like foundation level code. But like, whereas in the art world, we're more like nervous about our like copyright and everything. And I just feel that that's really fascinating, how knowledge can be shared in a way that's not like limited to some sort of individualism, and it's a more like community-based way of learning in the tech industry, actually, as evil as people might think they are. Yeah, I think that's actually maybe influenced me in a very unconscious way, that the way I see myself is less from like an artist and author's perspective, but more from just a person like trying to discover new ways to break the system. So I totally don't mind if the viewer participates in that and contributes to that.
Very cool. Can you speak a little bit to the iconography that we're seeing? So sort of, why giraffes, why goldfish, why tentacles? What's the significance of using those particular images in populating this world?
It's a very symbolic land, but the giraffes are not part of the symbol. Like, they're more like some other stuff, like the surveillance camera has obviously a meaning to it, a very loaded meaning, especially in today's society. And but the giraffes are really just giraffes, just like the cigar. Sometimes it's just a cigar. Another thing is that there are a lot of like huge ginger roots around in the space. That's a reference to the Luz. as you might think. Like they're like the most common way of rhizome, like in a decentralized world. And there are also like other symbolic images, but the animals are like not part of that. And maybe the bees are, because they're like kind of a collective mind instead of individuals in that sense. The giraffes are like completely random. They are the first like free asset that I downloaded when I was trying to like learn Unity. So I just put them in there and let them like roll around.
I love that. Well, we've got to move on to our next video, but Tansy will look forward to bringing you back as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our final viewing for tonight is John McGarity. John is an interdisciplinary artist exploring themes of identity, memory, and human experience through painting, multimedia installations, video, and artifacts. His work is influenced by folklore and mythology, and he's particularly interested in local and regional perspectives. So we'll let the video play.
Says in the Old Testament, doesn't it? In the beginning was the Word. Wrong, wrong, wrong. In the beginning was the image. There's almost every reason to
Okay, so John, I believe what we just saw is a piece of an ongoing body of work that's the Order of the Old Line. And I'm hoping you can talk about this project that you've been working on for some time and how this video we just saw fits into it.
Sure. So Order of the Old Line is part of it's a part of a larger project that's been going on for over 20 years now. And what I've done is I've created a little, I guess, microcosm in a fictional town called Mallet Creek. And Mallet Creek, the metaphor I use is that Mallet Creek is a nail, and it's a nail that you hang ideas on. So if there are things that are kind of influencing the way that I'm thinking or what it is that I'm thinking about, I kind of take that and I kind of process it creatively and visually, and then kind of assign it as kind of a character or an avatar within this this little microcosm. And so, for example, the synarchists are synarchy is governing by two bodies of demographics. So for the synarchists, it's power that's gained through wealth and religion. And so that's a series of paintings. And then in addition to the paintings, there's a lot of kind of mixed media stuff. There's video and there's kind of objects and artifacts that I make that just kind of all tie everything together. And this is eventually going to be a kind of an immersive multimedia installation. So it's all kind of, it all works together in a way, and it's a way that I kind of latch on to certain ideas and process them visually.
Yeah, and the video that we saw or that the video that can be seen at Roco,
Mhm.
where does that fit into this multi-decade project?
Well, it's interesting because when you first contacted me, I forget how you worded the kind of concept brief, but the thing that kind of popped into my head was, how do we as creative people uh, deal with technology as it's kind of progressing now? And so this piece is about what I'm calling digital anxiety. Um, we've got all the uh, new technology, well, newish, between AI and NFTs and blockchain and all of that stuff. And I'm constantly hearing or seeing, reading about artists who are very worried about their projected usefulness. In terms of getting work, like if you're an illustrator or a designer or photographer, um, it you're wondering if that value is being lost by this technology. And so because I am a multimedia artist and I do work with my hands a lot, I'm kind of using a platform as a digital artist and as an artist who makes things by hand that can't be replaced digitally. So I decided to work off of that. And when Miranda contacted me, I didn't have anything specific that I felt fit into that. So I made the piece in a day. Uh, I just rattled it off because Miranda had inspired something, and I really wanted to be a part of this show. So I spent the night uh, taking bits, taking photographs, and shooting some video, and then bringing it all into After Effects and compositing it. And I made the music and all of that like in one night. So uh, I just kind of I just kind of pulled an all-nighter and cranked it out. So
That's incredible. I never would have guessed. I think I had the opportunity when you were at the IEA to see some of your work
Yeah,
installed in the immersive gallery, and this piece had so much of the same feel of that, like really, very deliberate piece as well. So that's
yeah,
really neat that that sparks something.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I feel like in your work, there's it's the work that I've seen from you, and of course the work that we're showing in the context of this exhibition is the video-based work.
Mhm.
But it seems like there's still a real sense of physicality in the images. We can see the image on the screen here. It looks like frames sort of holding
Yeah,
hand, and even in the movement that we were seeing of these sort of curtain shapes and the light coming through. And so I'm wondering if you could speak to the ways in which maybe your physical practice, your building and your making informs the video practice, and
right,
perhaps vice versa.
right. Well, if you're looking at this screen in particular, those are my hands that I shot that night, I guess, and you can tell by my sausage fingers. And I had just been painting, so you can see a little bits of paint all over my hands, and it didn't occur to me to just wash them because I always have something on my hands. And I thought, at the end of the day, it kind of made sense with the theme of the piece and that kind of straddling of the digital and the analog worlds that I kind of float in between.
Yeah, definitely very appropriate.
Yeah.
You've also said that some of your work is about the politics of spirituality and the search for divine wisdom.
Yeah.
And one of the things I I really appreciate about your work is it always seems to have this kind of gravitas about it, you know, that has that kind of like heaviness is too heavy of a word, but you know, it has that kind of
Yeah.
feeling to it. And so I guess I would just love to give you space to maybe speak more to how, from your point of view, that shows up
Sure.
in what you make.
Yeah. Well, my approach to things, as evidenced, as you can see by my hands, is I'm about as subtle as a hand grenade. And so I'm very, you know, I come from a background of, my undergrad was in film and video. That was a long time when everything was still analog. And of course, painting and all of that. But I did have, right when I got out of school, I was a graphic designer. Um, and so I have a very kind of graphic sense of putting images together. And I have a very kind of polished to these videos, even in their kind of haywire approach. So it's, how do I put this? It's just this, it's confluence and this kind of tension between the mediums and how to kind of mentally process all of it. And so the the way I kind of do things visually and the kind of heaviness comes from just a general sensibility that I've always worked in, that's very heavy. I don't know if it was my goth days in high school or what it is, but it's just the language I speak. I'm not very good at being lighthearted or anything like that. At least not visually. Uh, I tend to kind of favor a little bit of drama, a little bit of the way I put it is I kind of peddle in ambiguity. That's what kind of draws me into other work, is looking at something and being able to project a little bit of myself onto it, and being able to use that ambiguity from another artwork and being able to bring my own baggage so that my experience of looking at the artwork is mine. But, you know, still recognizing the artist's intention and role with the work. So I think that it's just a way that I kind of visually render things. And a lot of the mood, is particularly of the video stuff, is set by the sound that I do for it as well, which tends to be on the darker side, a little moodier. And, you know, I just don't know how to do anything any other way. You're not likely to get polka music from me. So it's the brush I paint with.
Yeah. Yeah. I also had quite a serious uh goth years in high school, so maybe that's why I respond so well
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
so thank you.
yeah, of course.
It's now actually time. We want to make sure we have a chance to bring everybody in and then hopefully have questions from the audience as well. We've got about 15 minutes left in the hour, so I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll kind of set you all up with a question that you can answer and maybe even discuss amongst yourselves as artists if that's of interest. And while you're all talking about that, people in the audience, or maybe even staff at Roco, can be thinking about maybe what they'd like to ask. So my question for you all was, you know, when you're dealing with video art or art that then gets experienced through video format, you know, even in sort of like a live performance situation or video, and we weren't saying video game Tansy, but video player experience, because of the nature of it, it's always going to be linear. You know, people are always going to kind of have a X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, 3. And of course, that's a very particular way to experience artwork. And it can maybe have certain effects like inferring causality or something like that, just because something came after what came before. And so I just love to hear your all thoughts about, is this a feature or is this a bug in what you do? Is it something that is it a benefit or a challenge? Just because it's so different than, for instance, if you were to create a painting where for the most part your eye can be led around it, but a viewer or the audience will sort of experience it all at once. There's always going to be sort of a time element to it. So I hope that question makes sense, and I would just love to hear your thoughts about it while we've got people thinking in the audience about what they'd like to ask.
We can go in the same order that we we did the first bit. So.
Sure. We can get started. I think like in terms of video, so like, well, the video part, the visual part of our project is a lot of it, we think of it in a way that is like a collective memory. So in a video that you see, there's a lot of footage from like a Cold War era, and that is like manipulated with like the data set of like the text that we were talking about. And usually we present it in a performance setting, like we mentioned before. So in a way that the way I improvise it and write code to call like each of the sequence of the text and the video is a feedback from what I hear, or like feedback from like what we like conversation that we have earlier before the performance. So every time it's kind of like distorted changes in a way that trying to change like the memory, or like my own memory, or like hopefully like collective memory that we wanted to kind of like going forward. It's kind of like in a way that we wanted to imply that like this is what you seeing, or like what you remember. Maybe it's not the truth, it can be manipulated, it can change, it can evolve. So like that, the way that we are thinking of like the sequencing. So like because we also use coding in a way that like writing, improvising to creating, so then it's like usually it's like a lot of like randomness, or like have like a lot of like sequence that shuffle. Yeah. And also there is like a audio responsive aspect of it, that also like the color or like the shape sometime is respond to the sound that can make. So like it's a feedback of like what's surrounding. For the video version, it's also respond to the sound that can make at the time, but the recorded version. Yeah.
I want to add quickly, trying not to take so much time. Also, like we also talking a lot about like how between like video and other form of expression other than performance. Performance is like limited time, temporal, and like hyperlocal, so you have to be there to experience it. In a sense, that also a feature, because in the performance we also have audience participation as well. That another big part, which it's a little harder to bring it on to other kind of expression. But in the video form or in the website form that we are working on right now, the potential of like have that work expand from the local, but like you can send the media to elsewhere. It's kind of like help another feature that we can, it's expand our reach to other audiences as well.
Yeah, more accessible.
In a sense. So I'll end there.
Thank you.
I guess I'm next. I think we as humans, we experience everything durationally, no matter if it's a video or not, no matter if it's intentional or not. Even for a painting, people might choose to spend different amount of time around it. And just because it's the artist's intention doesn't mean that the audience would follow. That's one thing. Fun fact, a curator opened a nail salon in New York because she thought that people don't spend enough time watching video art. So the nail salon features video art on the wall while you're doing your nails. It kind of forces you to watch it. But I tried to work there for a short period of time and I realized that nobody was watching the video art. So I would rather have a less like forceful relationship with my audience. So even for a linear piece, they can choose to come in or out at their preferred time. They can choose to spend as much or as little time in the room watching the work. And also, if there's one thing that I'm unsatisfied about my medium being video, is that it doesn't have any smell. It doesn't have the physicality. You can't like, well, I think this might be solvable in the future with like VR technology or other forms of like more immersive ways of viewing. Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Thank you.
Well, for me, because I do straddle kind of both worlds, and because like multimedia installation is really where I'm heading, and so the attention that I'm kind of asking from the viewer is also variable in engagement. They're supposed to be just loops, and I create these loops, 5 to 10 minutes each, and then do sound for the main one, and then let run separate loops. I try and do like a projection system, and then do other loops that kind of surround. And then there's the physical elements. So right now I'm doing a lot of projection-based things on kind of non-traditional materials that I kind of layer up. So the piece that I did at IEA was a full immersive room, but in the middle I had put this what I'm calling panel clouds of treated plexiglass, and they're in layered configurations. And when I'm projecting on them, it gives the moving image more volume and depth. It's kind of hard to explain unless you see it in person, but that kind of format offers the viewer variable engagement, but still keeping them within the space, kind of surrounding them with the media. So video is kind of I don't create things that are narrative, so I can kind of just play visually with whatever the project is and work off of that and just try and create a viewing environment for the video as well as the physical elements.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. I do want to make sure we've got time to open things up, so I think we'll do that at this point. So I don't know if Blue, you want to jump back in, or if we've got anyone popping up. But yeah, I just if I don't get a chance to say it again, I just want to thank you all so much for being in the exhibition and for joining us tonight. I'm sure everyone watching has gotten a really strong sense that we just have the tip of the iceberg showing here, in all of your really thoughtful and brilliant and expansive practices. So I hope everyone's inspired to go find you and learn more, because you're all doing amazing work, and it's been just really an honor to get to touch base with you both through the residency and then again at ROCO. So yeah, thank you all.
Thanks, Miranda.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like
Appreciate everything you did.
doesn't look like we have any questions from the audience quite yet. So I'll chime in quickly here with a little bit of a different direction. But first, I'll just say that we've been honored to have these works in our space. And part of our mission here is, I think with this collaboration with IEA is to introduce a general audiences to a small survey of video work. And I appreciate how this exhibition, even just looking at these 3 screenshots here, this exhibition really shows 3 very different aesthetics, 3 very different approaches to making video work. Certainly there are themes, and I think Miranda did a terrific job of piecing this together in that way. But I will say that our audience is quite a general audience. And I think this exhibition has been a terrific supplement to the landscape in Rochester here. And when viewers walk into the video gallery space where the program is playing, just as a reminder, they're not sure which piece they will encounter, let alone where in the timeline of each piece they will intersect it. So that question of the power of the timeline and the temporal nature of video work is really relevant for us on the ground as visitors intersect your work. And we have this old adage in the art world or in the museum world. Some of you may have heard this. There are streakers, strollers, and studiers. Streakers, just run through the gallery, right, and hardly look at anything. Strollers walk a little more slowly and maybe read a little something. And then studiers read every text piece and really take their time. And those would be the ones that fully sit down in the nail salon chair and get the full treatment and take in the full video work. I'm really interested in that idea of holding visitors and slowing them down and really, making them engage with the work. So we may have to try that sometime. I was just sort of rambling on there, just all to say thank you all so much for showing it, Rocco. It does look like we have a question here. Tiffany asks, I'd like to hear. Oh, John, that's you. I'm sorry. Is that you, John?
No, I think my wife might be chiming in for.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, that's wonderful. So panelists, can you all see Tiffany's question? She would love to hear more about where we can see more of each of your works.
Huh? We'll go back in the same order.
Yes, sure. So we can pop our website on the chat. And also we have like some workshop and show coming up. So in end of April, beginning of May, we have a group exhibition with Life Code NYC called My Blank is an Ecosystem at Governor Island, How It's Work, Governor Island. And we have like the print piece, and on the 28th, on April 28th, we also have workshop that we are teaching live coding using open source and also South culture. And also we have like beginning of June, we have demo festival, part of New Ink New Museum. And we have a talk and exhibition there. So yeah, keep in touch on our website. Yeah, we have all the update there.
And if anyone wants to see my work in person, if you're in Rochester, I'm having a show in Buffalo. I'm currently in residence at the Coalesce Biolab here. So I'm going to have a show at the Torn Space Theater. And yes, it's going to be a theater production on April 27th. And I'll put the link in the chat as well. And so this new piece is called Luca. It's Last Universal Common Ancestor. And it's going to streaming like biometric data from dancers and from their movement. And and the EEG brainwave from an instrumentalist, and a lot of slime mode, yeast, all the kinds of like microorganisms are going to have data streamed into virtual reality. So that's going to be pretty cool. And I'm also going to be in the Harvest Works show. Great to be in the same show again. That opens on Governors Island on May 18th or 17th, and it lasts for the entire summer. So if you're visiting New York, get on the island. It's a lot of fun to visit in the summer.
It's beautiful there.
For me, I have currently I have a show in Baltimore at a place called Gallery Blue Door. And I'm working on a multimedia installation in Port Jervis, New York, that will have video projection based work, paintings and artifacts, but it'll be a full kind of immersive experience in a very, I have friends that bought a building in Port Jervis, and so it's a large space, and I'm going to do my best to fill it. And then beyond that, I go to Norway in September for an artist residency, and I'll be working on a larger project that I'm calling Lanterns of Osiris. So we'll see how the rest of the year shakes out for me.
Thank you all. This question may be a bit out of order, but we do have a minute, and I would love to hear your thoughts about one of the other common threads here between you all is your experience at a residency. And I wonder if each of you could speak just briefly to the importance of residencies in your practice. Maybe about the Institute for Electronic Art, but other residencies as well. Would we like to go in the same order again?
Sure. Yeah. You wanted to start.
I think I want to talk specifically about IEA as well. It's really crucial, and probably it's one of our first residency that we actually doing it in person and have like a period of time that we can actually work and focus. And it's been like we've grateful for them, and also like it's a great space, and it's also like great staff that kind of like always checking in on you, and that's really helpful in terms of like what we want to work on and like get the support that we needed. And it was a really great time and highly recommended.
Yeah, also wanted to add that like residency is the way to be like connect and be in touch with people, and also like meet like sometime like you are in a resident with also other people or other cohort. It's the way to learn about like other people and be expand of like your own practice, and also thinking in a way that like you learn from startup and learn from other people on the cohort in a way that like maybe you didn't learn in like institution kind of like way, like like from the education, but it's more like more self-direct in a way that you can like connect and learn and be expansive. I think it's really great things to be like self-direct in that way, like to be connect with other people.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like for a lot of us, like I'm self-taught, I'm a freelancer. If I don't do residencies, I barely see any humans. It's as simple as that. So yeah, there's that. And also a lot of artists like myself, we don't have any institutional affiliation. So technically we don't have access to any equipment, especially if you're doing digital media art and you don't have access to things. And those are, I'm talking about things that are like mocap suits, things that cost tens of thousands of dollars to purchase that individuals might not have access to. And residencies are a way, like especially like IEA, they have so many different toys. I encourage everyone to try that. And yeah, and it would inspire you to try new technology, new ways of thinking. And yeah, it helps us a lot. And also sometimes, because personally I love traveling, so I will literally Google a place name plus art residency just to travel there. So that there's also that you get to know people from different parts of the world, and you learn their culture, and you evolve in your own art as well.
Yeah, I a tireless promoter of doing artist residencies. I think for similar reasons, culturally, it's important to kind of feeding certain projects. So when I go to Norway in September, that'll be my 6th in the last 2 years. And it's been a great opportunity to really concentrate in a place that gives you more space. I'm based here in Brooklyn, and I've got a very small studio. So, if I go to a place like Romania or Sweden, I get a larger space to work in. I've got the influence and the inspiration from wherever it is that I am on a cultural level, and I can kind of work within those parameters. So, for instance, in Estonia, I did a project based on a folklore character named Vanatui, and so I did an installation based around that. And so I do that a lot when I go to these residencies, is I pull little bits and pieces culturally to kind of feed into the work and kind of mark where it is that I was creatively and geographically. And it's an opportunity to kind of separate yourself from the regular kind of the busyness of regular life, back at home, because then you have to address all that stuff. And if you go away for a month or 2 months, just focused on the work, that time is really valuable.
Thank you all for that. Miranda, did you want to sign back on and close us out here?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you all for those really kind words about the IEA residency. I just want to reiterate, it was a super pleasure to have you all, and I hope we can have you all back sometime to keep working on the good work that you're doing. And again, a big thank you to Rocco, to Blue, to the team. I got to go to the opening, and I just want to say it was wonderfully done, and it was just so cool to see people interacting and seeing these works in person and getting to be a little fly on the wall of the video viewing room, not knowing that I'm the curator, hearing people sort of process through and talk amongst themselves and what do you think that was, and that sort of thing. So that was a great experience, and I know it's going to continue to do that for people as they go visit. So again, anyone in the audience who hasn't seen it, definitely encourage you. And yeah, so just many thanks all around, and it's wonderful to be working with such collaborators in this space. And thank you everyone who signed on to learn more, and hopefully we will continue to work together in the future.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a great
Miranda and Blue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.